You want to be a bard? You want to recite the words of creation? You didn't get enough praise as a child and now you tell jokes in an increasingly louder voice in a constant effort for validation? Well, do I have the D&D class for you? This is going to be a real big boy analysis of the Bard class for Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to take a closer look at the class of class clowns, see what role they are meant to play in the game, the problems that plague this class both at the table and above it, look at every Bard subclass option, both in lore and flavor and mechanics, and then we're going to make a brand new Bard for you to take home for free. For newcomers, think of this as an introduction. For experts, think of this as an in-depth examination. Welcome to everything you need to know about the D&D Bard. Part 1. What is a bard even? Bards are all about not being the guy that pulls out a guitar at a house party and kills the vibes. Instead, they are the only ones that remember to bring speakers. And then they go like... So, what is a bard? Well, we need to start somewhere. So, number A. Oh god, letter numbers already. We're so back. Pejorative. Bring in a hurdy-gurdy to a knifey-gunny fight. What is a bard meant to do in combat? Let's get the combat baseline out of the way. Bards are a full caster, the first true full caster we are covering in this series. So what even is that? A lot of people define full casters as a class that is focused on spellcasting, and this is wrong. Like, it was wrong before because of clerics in 2014, and now it's wrong in 2024 because of clerics and druids. Ever since 2024, D&D decided that druids were vegan clerics. The only definition of the types of casters in D&D that stands up to examination is that a full caster can cast spells from level 1, a half caster from level 2, and the elusive chanteuse of casters, the third caster, i.e. the magic subclass to a non-spellcasting class like the fighter's Eldritch Knight or the rogue's Arcane Trickster, who can cast spells only after level 3. Full casters also have more spell slots and acquire higher level spells quicker than half casters, and the exact same thing is true for half casters and third casters. Now, remember that thing I just said about full casters not being really about having a focus on spellcasting? That was called being pedantic, a nerd's favorite hobby, because this is definitely true for bards. Your bard is meant to be waving their little magic hands basically at every turn. Exceptions do apply. We'll get to those later, put a pin on that. Bards used to also get proficiency with rapiers by default, and that is now gone in 2024, and I feel normal about it. No rapiers for bard! What are you talking about? No rapiers for bard? You kick the bard? They're also an arcane full caster, and one day I'll talk about D&D's magic system. Funnily enough, it's also the only arcane full caster that gets access to healing magic by default, and we'll get to that soon enough too. Put a pin on that too. Pins on pins. The cool thing about D&D is that even though like 17 out of its 12 classes are full casters, D&D always differentiates them mechanically. So what makes the bard different from wizards, sorcerers, druids, and the other nerds? Well, bardic inspiration, of course.
Don't make me sing.
Bardic Inspo is the signature ability of the bard, and it allows you to live the fantasy that your pickup lines are helpful or wanted by burning a bonus action to assist someone with a d20 test. So an attack, saving throw, or skill check.
Are you sure you want to make me sing, everybody in the room?
Do you want to sing?
I guess I have to now, right?
Yes, surprisingly, bards are actually meant to be helpful to the rest of the party. Shocking, I know. I feel like people don't really talk about how ungodly strong Bardic Inspo is. It's a very strong buff, probably the strongest buff in the game, since it can be applied to basically every role, has a very long usage window, an hour, a full hour in 2024, and replenishes at nap time. And this transitions us perfectly into the most important part of this whole part. Full caster, no weapons, meant to cast constantly, and their signature ability being arguably the strongest buff in the game. What does that tell us about what a bard is and how it should be played in combat? Well, this is the analysis part. Looking at a bard's spell list in conjunction with everything we just talked about, the answer becomes obvious. Since bards can no longer stick you with the pointy end on account of having lost their rapiers when D&D revealed its newest haircut, they rely fully on their spell list, and that spell list tells a story. Okay, so the only damaging cantrip bards get in the SRD is Vicious Mockery, which does 1d4 damage. 1d4 damage. It is the lowest damaging cantrip in the game. It literally cannot get lower than that. That is the smallest dice. Out of 24 level 1 spells, 3 are damaging spells. 25 level 2 spells that a bard learns, and how many damaging ones? 4. You get the point. Bard is quite possibly the lowest damage dealer out of all the classes, by a pretty wide margin. Its damaging spells are extremely few and far between, and when they are there, they're always quirky. It's stuff like Heap Metal, which can only target That's right, metal. You're amazing at guessing. And is arguably better for making enemies drop their weapons than anything else, or cook them alive inside of armor. That's how I like to use it. So, since it's clearly not damage, what is this weird little Wonderwall singing man even meant to do? Well, let me explain it to you with the cringiest analogy I can think of. The Bard is sort of the Clefable to the Rogue's Gengar. Yes, I don't get out much. If the Rogue is purely debuff centric, now in 2024, the Bard has a bigger emphasis on support and on another little thing. It's time for Pointy Hat's weird obtrusive game design obsession that you guys tell me you like. On today's episode, Battlefield Control. A Battlefield controller is a role in a game destined to not deal damage, but rather to control. Yes, exactly, the battlefield. You're like super good at this. Battlefield controllers impose disadvantages on enemies, restrict their movement, cut down their options in combat, and, most importantly, set your allies up for big boy damage and to win the game. Facing down a Please No Steppy, Hunger of Hadar area of if you touch this, you die, that's Battlefield Control. Bard has a lot of elements to make it a very strong Battlefield controller, with spells like Thunder Wave, Cloud of Daggers, Silence, Glyph of Warding, Plant Growth, I could go on. But despite how good the Bard is at this, I don't even think that this is its main role. Wizards and Druids tend to be even better Battlefield controllers than the Bard? No. I think the Bard shines in debuffing and buffing. Unfortunately, I cry about this every day. There's no agreed upon game design term for this. Some people call this support, but in that case, the Rogue, who specializes exclusively in debuffs, no buffs, is now a support class. Yes, of course, you help your friends by up the enemy. But this is a case of technically true, but not spiritually so. It doesn't feel correct. If you play a lot of a certain MOBA, you might call this an enchanter, but we can't use that in D&D. It's taken. Most often by bards, funnily enough. They love a good enchantment spell. So I'm gonna propose one. How about Battler Controller? Since what you're controlling is not the battlefield, it's the people in battle. Bards can support their allies with a ton of buff-centric Battler control. With Bardic Inspo, of course, but also spells like Enhance Ability or the Enlarge part of Enlarge Reduce, but they can also do the exact opposite to enemies, as in debuffs. Crown of Madness, Bane, Collar Spray, Sleep. It's like 90% of their spell list. But we're not even done. Nay. I said it in passing, but bards get basically every healing spell you actually end up using. Healing Word and Cure Wounds are right there, and that basically puts you up there in the top 3 of D&D healers. So, the Bard is one of the worst, if not the worst, damage dealer in D&D, especially now without rapiers. And that is because it's probably the best battler controller in the game, and one of the best battlefield controllers and healers. Your goal in combat, most of the time, is not to kill the enemy, but rather to annoy it to death. All the while making sure that your friends are actually able to do what they're supposed to be doing. As a bard, you don't really get to give the coup de grace. Rather, you are the one with the mind of a mastermind that makes sure that the coup de grace can actually happen. That's what a bard is. And that's how it's supposed to play in like vanilla with no subclass. But all this is a massive disservice to the bard. If we end it here, we would be doing bards egregiously dirty, because bards shine even brighter in a completely different area of the game. Number B. I would like to talk to the everything. What is a bard meant to do out of combat? It would not be a stretch to reply to that question with everything. Once again, the rogue is the dark and twisted edgy shadow of the bard. In the rogue's version of this video, we explain what a skill monkey is, a D&D role that is supposed to do a bunch of stuff well. Both bards and rogues are skill monkeys, but once again, they do it very differently. The rogue is an expert. It does a handful of things better than literally every other class. The bard, on the other hand, has a feature literally called Jack of all trades. The bard is basically good at nearly everything. It's like a duck. It might not be the best flyer, swimmer, or walker, but it can do all three. If your brain is rotted by min-maxing, this might sound bad, but in practice, this truly does end up with the bard basically filling every role the party can't fill. Yes, if you have a wizard, you might not want the bard to roll every arcana or history check, but if you don't have one, the bard will most likely end up rolling the successes in those, and so on and so forth for every skill. D&D parties are not 10 people wide, so the bard will always be able to fill niches that its other friends cannot fill, except for strength. Nobody is making their bards really good at athletics, and that's just the way of the world. The barbarian needs to be able to do something, but the bard doesn't end there. Nay. There is one area where the bard is the best at, one area of the game where they excel above any other class. Bards are the best faces of the party. New game design term. Face of the party face for short, face for shorter, miss face if you're nasty, are characters that excel at talking to people. Now, everyone in D&D can talk. Kenku are outliers and should not be counted, but the face is generally the one that you want to go up to the guard to convince them to let you into the city, or talk with the snooty noble that decides if you get across the fortified bridge or not, or negotiate the prices of magic items to make your DM cry, or lies to the big bad so everyone can get to live another day. In summary, the faces are the ones you want to be making the charisma skill checks that actually matter. This is being the face of the party, and it's a very important role. Every charisma class would make a good face, but the bard is uniquely suited for it because they get one more skill proficiency than any of the other charisma classes. Once again, skill monkey. And their spell list contains like every enchantment known to man to assist them in the task of becoming the Pokemon master of extroverts. Also, so many of their subclasses have at least one ability literally geared to make them better at being the face. Who knows why? Maybe because people tend to like the pretty person singing a little ditty or doing a little dance more than the scary goth grandpa that made a deal with the devil for a corn chip or whatever it is you warlocks are doing. As a result of this, bards often shine the brightest out of combat as they take the stage in very high stakes conversations, or medium rare conversations, or most conversations. And this has led to the biggest problem with the class. Bard is in a very unique position as a class in that it's considered pretty strong, extremely useful, well balanced, and able to grant the best utility to the party. But it is also seen as one of the classes with the worst reputations in the game. Why? Extra number C. Where am I? We're gonna get into the Bard's reputation era, but there's a baby bit of a problem I want to talk about first that affects Bards, and it's the massive amount of prep work inherent to all Battlefield and Battler controllers. The thing is, you kinda need a Battlefield to use them. I don't think there's a class more affected by playing Theater of the Mind than supports, and more specifically, controllers of both varieties. Are you within 15 feet of the Paladin to benefit from the aura? Is the enemy 15 feet from the Paladin to suffer from the aura? Are you in Bardic Inspo range? All of these suffer immensely when it's fudge time o'clock and suddenly it's everyone is coincidentally near enough everything that benefits them, if your DM is nice, or conversely, too far from everything good if your DM is mean. So, what do? Yes, having a battlefield makes these problems go away, but it brings up other ones. Chief amongst them, where do you get that battlefield? What if you're a very normal hat like me, and you have a very specific idea of what the battlefield should look like? What if you're a hat of culture and care about aesthetics? So these gotta look pretty and Google Images will just not cut it. Well, that's where Czepeku comes in. That's right, the sponsor for this video is once again the place where you can get everything you need to make your games both the prettiest game at the ball and actually functional for your bards, pallies, druids, wizards, damn near every class. Czepeku waves their magic wand to dissipate literally everything that is awful about sourcing your own maps to give you some of the best maps in the business with none of the hassle. Look at them, just look at them. There are more than 6,000 of these guys, and if you're in a discerning consumer like me, do not worry, damn near every single one of these has variants. Need a map at night? Need it to look spookier? Need it to look prettier? Don't worry your sweet plum cheeks about it. Czepeku has it. And it has 6,000 plus maps and fantasy scenes for when you're not in combat. And off time is certainly a massive chunk of D&D, so now you can make it look pretty and immersive too, thanks to Czepeku. And somehow not done, they have a token maker. So your character actually looks like, well, what your character is supposed to look like. Look at it go! All of these also come with VTT ready content, so if you're an internet a technomancer like myself, these babies are tailor-made for Roll20, Foundry, Alchemy, a bunch more, the works. Now, you can get access to any of these individually, just the maps, just the scenes, or just the tokens, but you can get the complete fantasy bundle and get all three of them for the price of two by going to czepeku.com. This is an astonishing amount of content, all AI free, which is, as an artist myself, extremely important to me, and for a really good deal. So, if it sounds appealing, I've left the link to Czepeku below. It's the very first link in the description. And now that we know if we're in range of literally anything thanks to Czepeku, let's look at why the bards land themselves in range of the burn book of all D&D classes. Part 2. Bard Bad Rep. How a class becomes a punching bag. Okay, I gotta start this section by stating my bias. Bards are my favorite class in D&D, along with clerics. I would say I'm a cleric sun, bard moon, wizard ascendant, for those wondering about my nerd astral chart. Bards just scratch the folds in my brain in a particular way. I like battlefield controllers, I like playing support, I love debuffing people more than I like hurting them. And I don't care about big damage number go up even a little bit. The bard's aesthetic also really works on me as someone that doesn't really like elemental magic. Also, as someone that wants to seem aloof and mysterious, but also cannot shut the f up to save my life. I love yapping, and I despise role-playing anything low charisma because the thought of making a good argument and then that not mattering because I rolled low on persuasion kills me. I would rather fail 7 attacks in a row than that. So, knowing that, let's see why those big ol' internet meanies are being so damn rude to my angel who has never done anything wrong. Because I'm afraid they may have a point. Bards have a reputation problem, and the way I see it, it's twofold. Most classes that have been assigned the job of internet punching bag get it because of their mechanics. The monk was certainly this before 2024, or whatever the D&D equivalent is of the Kaya Asylum, and the ranger still is in there, right there with Megan Trainor and Ava Max. They're having a blast, I'm sure. Bard gets punched on for reasons not related to their mechanics at all. Instead, they have been saddled with some really noxious stereotypes, and I think this affects the class more than people think it does. So, let's examine them. Oh god, another numbered list. It's February. Number red, the Horny Bard. The Horny Bard is a joke, I'm told. Like, I think it's supposed to be funny. If you're part of the younger crowd, you might think that this has always been just a thing that people saddle the bard with, but I'm not so sure about that. Trying to pinpoint the origins of Horny Bard is like trying to pinpoint the origins of Evil Witch. It's a stock character throughout fiction in all of its history, but I think it reached the levels of unfunny we've reached today after D&D 3rd edition made them charisma based. Before, bards were like, honestly, closer to an arcane trickster, part thief, part wizard. I'm sure people were making seducing jokes in AD&D, but I think that what we see now is a sort of constellation of many factors. So here's my analysis on how the Horny Bard came to be. First, as I said, the idea of a musician using their performance to woo someone is not new or exclusive to D&D, even a little bit. It's like Commedia dell'arte / medieval epic levels of old. So that's in the collective subconscious. It's an archetype. Secondly, becoming a charisma class opened the bard to be the best face of the party, which in turn meant more opportunities for persuasion rolls to take a stickier turn. Thirdly, D&D is a power fantasy. And I don't know, I don't think it's a stretch to say that to someone that has not been particularly lucky in a certain area of life, there's a power fantasy in being charming, seductive, knowing just what to say, or even having the courage to try to flirt at all. Now, while all of these in a vacuum are pretty banal and harmless, they all work together to make the Horny Bard joke. And like any joke on the internet, it has been flanderized to death and degenerated into this. I found like 5,000 of these coming from this one guy, and each of them has the exact same punchline. It's wild. Censoring like all of them, by the way, because YouTube has not been kind to my latest video, like the one previous to this one, and I'm playing nice now. I don't know if it was the break I took or whatever, but the algorithm does not like that video, and it took so long to make. It kills me. Also, I hope I don't have to say this, but don't go pester the guy that drew those comics. Most of these are like from the year 2000. Let the comics be unfunny in peace. Anyway, why is this a problem? Just because it's not funny? Well, you're gonna see me say this about the one after this, but I really do think that this pushes people out of the class. There's a very specific type of person that wants to be the class clown. They're called a class clown. And I cannot think of many flavors of class clown that are less appealing than horny class clown. Most people don't want to be the comic relief of the adventuring party. If you show up to a table super excited to play your little uwu pink tiefling with like a little harp, and you are immediately treated like a sex criminal and warned that there are no seduction rules in D&D, that can scare you away from a class. On a somewhat related note, I see this dying soon. What I associate nowadays with bards, like what I see most often, is cutesier, like the aforementioned pink tiefling with little loot. I think we're trending towards that rather than horned up monster freak. And I think that uwu version of the bar will have its rise and its backlash, and life is a cycle, and we're all subject to the eternal Ouroboros of time where everything repeats ad nauseum. Let that lull you to sleep. But horniness is one thing. There's another stereotype that harms the bard just as much. Number blue. The theater kid. So I know that you don't have to sing at the table to play bard, but not everyone knows that. In the same way that being able to roleplay a confident, flirty, romantically forward person is a power fantasy to some, being able to perform at all is a fantasy to others. And this, coupled with, once again, the cultural understanding of what a bard is, makes it really enticing for, and I say this so affectionately, showboats. Now, I love a showboat. I think they're fun to have at the table. Yes, they can be a lot, and they can steamroll over everyone else if they're not a self-realized showboat. But a self-aware one is generally such a pleasant and fun addition to basically any gaming group. I will take a showboat before I take a complainer any day of the week. But here's the thing, showboatism begets showboatery. And if you do clownery, clownery comes back to bite. And I have encountered the perspective of, I don't want to play a bard because I don't want to sing at the table quite a few times. Now, before you tell me this doesn't happen, here's about a dozen posts from, of course, Reddit, I know, of people either worrying about how to play a bard when they can't sing or stopping themselves from playing the class because they don't want to perform. I could go on. There are a lot of these. I know that most of the people that watch me are tried and true D&D nerds. I am one of you, but what's important to understand is that for our hobby to keep going strong, we need new people. And to new people, things like you don't have to sing at the table when playing a bard is not a given. The showboats, once again, affectionate, that do like to sing at the table can give the impression that everyone also has to. And to be abundantly clear, I don't want showboats to stop singing or playing an instrument or doing their performance. I want to emphasize that them singing can send the wrong message. Fortunately, D&D has realized this, and in what I consider a lot of an overcorrection, has made sure that the 2024 Bard is not about music necessarily, or at all.
Please stop the music.
Song of Rest is over. Now bards are all about the words of creation, an obscure and abstract concept dropped on people in 2024 with nary an explanation. And most importantly, out of the 5 bard subclasses that have been updated for 2024 or dropped new, 2 of them, yes, 2, mention music in their flavor text. Let me repeat that. 2 bard subclasses mention music. The College of Valor, surprisingly, and the College of Glamour, unsurprisingly. I know, act shocked. Yes, a bard's performance can be any performance, it doesn't have to be music, but boy, does this feel like an overcorrection. And since we are on the topic, what sort of a video would this be if we didn't take a look at all those subclasses? A shorter video, that's what it would be. I don't have time for all that though. I have to come up with a new bard subclass for this video. I leave the subclass analysis stuff to my court jester. Human Familiar, Part 3. Bard subclasses. Which performing arts degree is right for you?
Human familiar.
Hello. Sad, tears of a clown. Wizard said that bards can have any performance, so mine is this. Why can't clowns be bards? Clownery is a performance. It's Carnival at the time of recording, so I'm supposed to go out after this. So yes, I am reusing my costume. Take it up with a hat. You thought I was joking when I said I love circus stuff? Anyway, let's get into it. I want to go out and observe Lent.
Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus. Kumbaya, my Lord.
Yep, it's Lent time. So I'm gonna go through every bard subclass. Yes, every single one of them. If one of them has a 2024 update, I will be talking about the update though. If not, I am not, because I can't. Good. Speaking of good, we will be using my trademark, very scientific rating system of good and goof. It matches because I lost my love. No more preambles, let's go. God. 3 numbered lists? It's the second month of the year. That always gives me the hardest ones to do, man. Number Doe. College of Creation. The retroactively canon one? College of Creation was always a weird, high-concept college to me, but the crux of its flavor is now the outwardly stated vanilla bard flavor, which I would have never guessed, and which also makes it even more mystifying as to why this wasn't included as the 2024 reworked one. You'll see as we go through them that a ton of the bard subclasses stretch the word performance like as far as it would go, and the College of Creation is gonna need some numbing cream because boy is it stretching. Basically, lore time for bards. The words of creation are basically D&D's Big Bang. It's the after effects of creation that still reverberate through everything in existence, and bards are like microwaves, microwaves for my British viewers.
Microwave?
In that bards can still detect the vibrations of the words of creation and use them to cast their spells. That is the source of bardic magic. It is a type of arcane magic. Bards of the College of Creation turbocharge this by basically connecting directly to the words of creation, to like its radio signal waves, which allows them to, get this, create. In terms of actual mechanics, this one is just f***ing weird, man. All bard subclasses build upon your bardic inspo, and this one does it in a really fun way. You conjure an emoji. I'm not being funny, it literally says that you conjure like a floating music note, or a flower, and whenever you use your bardic inspo, your floating emoji does something, and the something that it does depends on what they were used for, as in, what was your inspiration used for? It ranges from advantage on bardic inspo if you use it on a skill check, to more damage on an attack, to temp HP when you make a saving throw. That one is really good. It's all really cool, really useful, and not even related a little bit to the theming of the class. Like, not by a long shot. This is completely divorced from creation. It has nothing to do with it. Like, you can call this Song of Creation all you want. This is in no way related to it, not even in the lore way, just like in the vague sense of you create an effect. Sure, false advertisement. The changes, however, with your ability to Make a thing. This is a sort of ability that I love, but it's extremely table dependent. At some tables, this would be extremely useful. At some tables, like the ones that are extremely by the book, this will not be. For example, if your table goes by PHB as to what object you can make, you cannot make a broom to say, swipe the tracks away as you're like running through the forest and trying to lose someone that is chasing you. But if you play like a normal person, in which the ability says, makes a common non-magical object, a broom is that. Anyway, it depends on your table. And then, yes, there is more. We're going on a completely different direction now. At level 6, this subclass becomes, you're not gonna guess, a pet class. Huh? That's right. After level 6, you animate a thing. Animating is not creating, but sure. I will say that this is slightly more on theme than emoji. Now, I love pet subclasses. Foreshadowing for later this year. I think it's a little bit crazy to sucker punch you into a pet subclass. Like level 6 is pretty late. Normally subclasses like this give you your pet the moment you get the subclass, because the subclass is about having a pet, instead of revealing that it ended up being a ranger in disguise after you are 3 levels in. Anyway, your pet this time is a dresser, a couch, whatever object you decide to make your pet, a la Beauty and the Beast. I personally would choose that little dog Automan thingy from the movie. I have been obsessed with that since it was a baby. Now, I like this. I really love this. I think that this is really cool. I would love to play a character like this. I just think that one, this doesn't really vibe with the flavor that much. As I said, if I think creation, I don't think animating. Like, I guess like you're creating life. It's a stretch. But 2, and oh god, I am in a numbered list. I didn't realize. 2, this does feel tacked on. Like this does not feel like it flows with the rest of the subclass. And it's not like this creating a pet thing corresponds with anything we have outlined prior. A subclass should be designed as like abilities that respond to one another. And this isn't. And it sucker punches you into level 6. Like now your character plays completely different because it's about having a pet Automan. Whereas for 6 levels, which is a lot, it wasn't about that. All in all, this is not a bad subclass on paper, but I do see some massive holes when it comes to actually playing it. It feels like a very theoretical subclass. Like, as someone that has written quite a few at this point, this reminds me of stuff that I have written where I have like a very clear idea as to the flavor of a thing, and then I realize halfway through that the mechanics are not gelling with that flavor, and then I force it in. Do not. I force the flavor onto the mechanics that do not make sense for it. For its lack of thematic cohesion, its constant penchant for abstraction, and the actual table experience mattering so much to whether this subclass is good or bad, I'm gonna have to give this admittedly very cool concept a rating of goof. But just like this, who am I to call anyone a goof? Anyway, let's dance. Number Ray, College of Dance. Dance. The new one. Spoiler alert. Not a spoiler if you've been watching this channel for a long time. Thank you. I love this one. I love this one so much that I made my own, and so has like half of the DMs guild. This is not a new concept. It's my first subclass ever for the channel. Don't go watch that video. It's awful. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. First video ever. Ooh, don't want to know. Don't want to know. Don't want to see it. Don't watch it. Everyone and their mom has made this subclass because Dancer Bard just makes sense. It's a clear and obvious performance for a bard to do. It's not musical, which is always good. In theory, it's always good to be reminded that bards don't have to be musical, even though they are definitely musically coded, and it seems like in an effort to prove that they don't have to be, we have forgotten that. Mechanically, the dancer is... the correct term is beast. I love when D&D takes a theme that you wouldn't associate as being the strongest in the game and does exactly that. The Dancer Bard is busted. It kind of reminds me of the fairy species, which people don't realize is one of the best species in the game on account of it being a guy with butterfly wings. Dancer Bard, just like Dancer Fire Emblem, is extremely versatile. It's one of those rare subclasses that are like the spellcasting cousin to the Marshal's third caster, like Eldritch Knight or Arcane Trickster, as in the Dancer is a full caster that wants you to be a martial combatant too. What does this mean? The Dancer wants you in melee range and throwing punches, and in order to make that happen, it gives you some really solid survival tools, which is whenever a subclass like this exists, that is what decides if the subclass is usable or not. If it's survivable enough, you can actually play it. If not, you are... I'm not gonna say the name of the subclass because so many people love it, and there you'll get mad at me if I say that their subclass is bad, but you can fill in the blanks. So, what are these survival tools? Well, it's stuff like saying goodbye to an opportunity attack touching you ever, having more AC than any full caster should have by default or by right, better evasion than the rogue, yes, really, and of course, the ability to deck your enemy over the head with the magic Macarena of creation.
Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo.
You have to do it if you're Spanish. You just have to know how to do it. And it also helps you be an even better face of the party and gives you an excuse to roll performance maybe more than twice in a 1 year long campaign, which is unheard of in D&D. Now, like all of the martial-y bards, its only weakness is how fast this guy wants to go through bardic inspos. If you're not careful with these, you will run out in the middle of combat. You just will. Now, the subclass is well designed, so that means that a lot of your abilities do not depend on Bardic Inspo, so at least you have that going. But most of your stuff also does depend on Bardic Inspo, so be careful. Ultimately, for making a scary amount of sense for the Bard, theming-wise, and making it an actually scary Bard in combat, this K-pop lead vocalist, mid dancer, main rapper, visuals of the group. I don't know enough about K-pop, but I know that all of those words are K-pop words. Whatever, it gets a rating of good. Okay, if you thought I glazed the College of Dance too much, get ready. Number me, College of Eloquence. Number me. It's like I'm saying I'm eloquent. High five to me. You know what time it is? It's time for Antonio's favorite.
These are Antonio's favorite things.
Whenever I make one of these impossibly long analysis videos, I thought it would be good to let you know which one is my favorite. I don't know why I thought that you would care, but I want to talk about it. Anyway, this is it. It's my favorite subclass for my favorite class. I'm too happy about this. It's embarrassing. Anyway, yes, this is my favorite. Is it embarrassing for my favorite to be the Debate Bro subclass? Yes, the College of Eloquent has oratory as its performance. As masters of the oral, Eloquence bards excel at bringing forward their opinions. And you know what they say about opinions? Everybody has one, and everybody wants yours if you're an Eloquence bard. Just like ass. Real talk, oratory is an actual skill to me, like a very important skill to me. I didn't say I was good at it, I just said that it's important. People have been studying oratory since yapping was invented, and to me, a bard specializing in it makes so much sense. Like immediately I think of like ancient Greece themed bard, sick, going up to the forum to debate their opinions in the marketplace of ideas with facts and logic or something. It's cool, I swear it's cool. It's just so sick to me. I love it. Now, thematically aside, this guy just happens to also be a beast mechanically, which is necessary if I'm gonna like it. I'm boring like that. I'll go on record right now and say that I think that Eloquence Bard is probably the best face in the game. Like, out of any subclass and class combination, this one is the best at being the face of the party, and it's not even close. Eloquence Bard gives you the rogue's reliable talent at level 3. Yep, it just does that. I didn't know that was allowed. Like, is it legal? With one skill, you ask? No, actually, with two. What 2 skills? Like, one good and one bad? No, actually no. Persuasion and deception, the 2 best skills in the charisma category. That would do it, yeah. That will make you the best face in the game. But if you think that the Eloquence Bard is sort of a mastermind / inquisitive situation, like a subclass that has forgotten that in D&D you fight sometimes, you have another thing coming. Their twist for Bardic Inspo, to me, is one of the strongest Bardic Inspos in the game. It basically allows you or a bigger damage dealer to set up for a massively powerful spell by f***ing up the enemy's saves. Like subtracting the number rolled from your Bardic Inspo to their save, to the enemy's save. You get up to a D12 on Bardic Inspo. It's just amazing. But you may be asking, does it suffer the same fate as the Dancer Bard? Does it love eating through your inspirations in like 3 turns? No! Failing after using a Bardic Inspo given by an Eloquence Bard means the Bardic Inspo is not spent. You literally can only use it to succeed. And at level 14, you get to spread the Bardic Inspo to creatures you haven't given a Bardic Inspo. It's wild. It's really, really strong. To me, the Eloquence Bard is at the same time a very different take on the Bard on account of its performance being so far removed from music, but also the bardiest of bards, like the Bard that feels the most like the core of the class. You're really good at support, you're really good at being a battler controller, and you're really, really good at being the face. If you like bards, if bard is a class that is appealing to you, but maybe you've played a bunch of them and you're kind of tired of playing like the Wonderwall guy for the 7th time, this is the subclass for you. This is a subclass for you even if you don't like bards that much, because who doesn't like being the best at what you're supposed to be doing? Whatever, I like that. So, good. I know, you were shocked. But so far, we haven't talked about the core ones, the 2024 A-list, the ones that actually got invited to the Smash Bros. So, let's do that now. Number 5, College of Glamour. College of Glamour to me ends up getting the vanilla bard slot for not a very clear and easy to see reason. I don't know why this one gets that slot. Like, it's not even overly musical or anything. None of them so far have been, and yet it got a 2024 re-release. It's to the point where I have to remind myself that this wasn't in the 2014 PHP. It's in Xanathar's, which is basically a 2014 PHP, but who's counting? Flavor-wise, it's weirdly enough Fae-centric. Glamour bards are supposed to have learned their bardic arts from the Fae. I don't know why the Fae are connected to the words of creation, but sure. And their magic itself comes from the Feywild. So the Feywild is acting like as a prism to the words of creation. I'm guessing this is a lot of guessing. 2024 does not do a lot of flavor or explaining the flavor. But then again, to be fair, 2014 also didn't do that. What I really don't like about the conversion, because I really like it mechanically, is how much flavor actually was lost in the 2024 conversion. In 2014, it was clearly the Fae enchanting bard. Like, enchantment was the big thing. Like, the 2014 text was very, they inspire awe and fear in equal measure. Glamour bards are beguiling and they overpower your senses. It was cool. It was like the sort of like twisted fairy. It's sick. 2024 though, it's like they're empaths. Like, it's a lot of like longing for innocence. There's something about childhood fears. Why? Methinks someone was scared of doing a subclass based on a certain school of magic, especially when the bard has the stereotype it has, and I'm gonna let you connect those dots. What I find strange is that mechanically it's still there. Mechanically it's very much still an enchanting subclass, but the flavor is just baby-fied now. Why are you doing the Fae like this? What have they done to you? Let them be scary, even in a f***ed up way. But yes, mechanically, enchantment is still there. This is a fun combo of support by way of healing and speed, and debuff by way of charm. Now, this college is markedly less strong than something like dance or eloquence, but still pretty respectable and kind of bardy. You know, enchantment goes well with music. Its coolest thing is their ability to basically make everyone move on their turn without provoking any attacks of opportunity. It's really good for repositioning, and when they do this, they get a heal off. Really good. And in 2024, they have this, I can only call this a magical girl transformation sequence that also allows them to cast command at will. Once again, enchantment is very much still there, and charm creatures don't even get a saving throw on this. It's good. This has a lot of synergy, by the way, like once again throwing rocks at creation, tomato. It has a lot of synergy with their use for bardic inspo, the newest one in 2024. 2024 was very, very good to the subclass overall, but I feel like 2024 has been good to basically every subclass. We love to see it. If you like the support options of the bard more than the debuff options, but you like enchantment and you have no problems with it, this is it. This is the one for you. Oh, also if you like a faith theme, but that has been decreased. Overall, extremely solid. This is a very clear rating of good. Okay, so now from one of the big ones to one of the poster boys. Number Soul, College of Lore. Is there a bardier bard than the lore bard? Well, thematically, yes, absolutely. This is not even that bardy. College of Lore is sort of the nerd bard, the wizard bard. Their performance is storytelling, and their whole thing is like comparing notes with other lore bards as to new stories that they can tell on their storytime videos.
He f***ed me with a toothbrush!
As I said, this doesn't seem super bardy, clearly not musical, and yet, this is one of only 2 subclasses to be included in both PHPs, 2014 and 2024. This might be because their unique bardic inspo is, as experts call it, extremely busted. You subtract your bardic inspo roll from any attacks the enemy makes. Yeah, that'll do it. That will get you on 2 PHPs. That's pretty good. Well, it isn't just that. You can also do this to damage rolls and ability checks. You're just a nuisance. Cutting Words, this is the name of this ability, would put the lore bard into any top 5 bard subclasses to kill your mom with or whatever. I don't know what people are doing on YouTube anymore. It would put you on the top 5 of any of those lists. But then it gets a bunch more abilities. This is not the reason why it's good. It's one of the reasons why. Lore bard is one of the rare full caster spellcasting subclasses, like a subclass that makes you more of a full caster. I love those because I don't want to be anything but a full caster. Half caster on a really weird day. You get extra skills, which is pretty good when you're a skill monkey that gets expertise. You get more spells than any other bard. I'm sure they're jealous. And you get a bardic inspo to make your DM cry. Lore bard to me is the measuring stick upon which all other bard subclasses are like measured against. If a bard subclass reaches the level of lore bard, it's a good subclass. If it is higher, it's probably busted. And if it's lower, why would you be playing this when you can play lore bard? So, given that, good. Yes, that is the 4th good in a row. Will the next one follow suit? Number la, College of the Moon. The latest of all Bard subclasses, the babyest baby, the Macne, if you will. And the fact that it nibbled is mid. Right off the bat, I hate it. The flavor is extremely setting dependent because this came out in the Faerun book, the Baldur's Gate book, the second one. We needed two. Now, I will be kind and say that I despise when a subclass is extremely setting dependent with the fervor of 1,000 moons. I just hate when something as evergreen and reusable as a subclass is like, this is a subclass of Topeka, Eastern Kansas, usable only by warriors trained by Frederica Bimmel and her local order of Cool Whip Salad Paladins. Like, gee, thanks. Can't wait to translate all of that gibberish into whatever setting I'm actually running. Like, why couldn't this be written about any moon? And at the end of the subclass, you put something like, in the Forgotten Realms, these bards train in the Moonshea Butter Isles. Like, is that a crazy ask? Am I the only one bothered about this? I've never heard anyone complain, and it kills me because I hate it. Like, I don't even think that this makes sense business-wise. Like, if you're Mr. of the Coast himself, don't you want people to use this in like Eberron, Ravnica, Ravenloft, whatever? You don't want them to use any subclass there? What if they don't want to run in Faerun? If someone doesn't want to run in Faerun, they might still buy your book because they want the Moon Knight, whatever bard. But they won't because the flavor is extremely specific to Faerun. Anyway, whatever. Apparently no one cares about this, but it kills me every time. Mechanically, it's not as good as the sorcerer version of this because there was a UA sorcerer version of this, and it's one of my favorites. It's a really cool sorcerer. Anyway, the bard is not as good as that one. They nerfed this from UA, which good. Methinks someone forgot about the Eloquence Bard and gave this guy the Temu version of their Bardic Inspo. In exchange, the Moon Bard gets two use as a Bardic Inspo. Wow. A teleport and invisibility one, which is really strong, and an extra heal, which is less strong, but good to see. It also gets some druid flavor, which is a Moonshea Butter Forgotten Realms thing. I'm so pissed. Like, it infected mechanics now. It is now even more setting dependent. Great. Now, if you want to use this subclass, you have to figure out why your bard was friends with the local druid or something. Anyway, an extra cantrip is nothing to sneeze at, especially because bards get a really tiny spell list. And at level 6, it gives you a Bag of Rats ability, my greatest nemesis. I think I defined Bag of Rats abilities in my Warlock analysis, so go check that out if you want to know more, but just in case, I'll give you like the very short version. A Bag of Rats ability is an ability that triggers when you do something to an enemy creature. So not a heal, but like inflicting damage or whatever, or killing. Most of the time it's killing, which means that in theory, you could just carry a bag of rats around and not be a great owner of those rats and trigger this ability whenever you want. Kind of like how Minecraft people treat villagers. Anyway, this one is one of truly the worst versions of Bag of Rats abilities in that it's a Bag of Rats ability that heals. Sources of healing are extremely limited in the game as to who can heal and how, and free healing is basically unheard of, and this one does that. If you want to become, I don't know, the rat's greatest calamity.
Tormenting rats with sticks is my favorite thing to do.
So, while strong, easy to abuse. I don't know why they keep writing these. All in all, this feels very College of Creation coded. While there's no sin here, like truly awful thing, I still don't love this one. Maybe it's the Bag of Rats of it all. Maybe it's the setting dependent nature of it. That one, I truly hate that. I hate that. Or maybe it's because it's a bardic version of an existing sorcerer subclass, and the sorcerer subclass is so much better than this. Whatever it is unfortunate, but I have to give this guy a goof. This feels good. I was being too positive on the internet. What's the point of being online if it's not to complain? Okay, enough. Enough moon and fairies and oral. Where's the spooky one? I know you have one. Show it to me. Oh god. See?
Policía de los payasos.
Sí, un segundo. Oh god. I'm dressed as a clown. What am I how am I open the What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You'd be shocked to find out how fast you can take makeup off. I sure was. Now. And I have to put it back on immediately after this because I am going out. You can't prove that this is my PJs. What if I like dog t-shirts? Number C. T? In American? I've heard Americans say T. I don't like it. I'm gonna say C. Number C. College of Spirits. I was wondering when the emo one would show up. All classes have one, or 7 if you're a warlock. Flavor-wise, the College of Spirits knows what it wants to be, and that is confusing. It wants to be confusing. First of all, there's no clear performance here. It says legends, histories, and fictions, so I guess it's storytelling. Again, dark and twisted lore bard. Despite this, it's clearly going for one thing, and that is spooky. And a clown class can definitely benefit from a spooky option to kind of break the monotony of Hong Kong. This thing is basically a medium. You talk to spirits and speak for them. And I don't know why they didn't say it like that. I mean, I love the idea of playing a medium. I really like that idea, actually. I think that that is a really cool idea that someone should do in D&D. Anyway, so flavor-wise, kind of confused. It's just a guy that tells spooky stories and also talks to spirits by telling those spooky stories. What about mechanically? The signature is called Tales from the Tales from the Beyond. Tales from the Beyond is, I call these options gambling subclasses. Basically, it's a player option that includes randomness as a core part of the play experience. The whole point of it is that you do not know what you're getting. These are your wild magic barbarians, your wild magic sorcerers. That's kind of it. But you see this a lot in video games, for example. I know that Final Fantasy did this for the Astrologian in Final Fantasy XIV until they completely took away the job's identity. Now, while these gambling subclasses are not for me personally, there are plenty of people that like them. And there is a way of doing them right, and College of Spirits does them, I'm gonna be kind and say not amazing. How Tales from the Beyond works is you roll a d12 to ascertain what effect you get, and you look at a table to find out what that effect is depending on the roll. Now, while some of these tales are extremely strong, so many of them are extremely situational. And even sometimes it's not a situational thing, it's just that it's not applicable to whatever situation you're in right now as you roll that thing. There's always a mix of in-combat tales and out-of-combat tales, and whichever one of the two you get depends on literally the roll of a die. Like, for example, there's a tale that gives you a bonus to intelligence checks, which is nice. When you're looking to make intelligence checks, what if you roll that in the middle of combat? Well, you're not using that. You're just not. The Wild Magic Barbarian is actually a really good example of a gambler subclass done right. It includes randomness, but every option you get is useful in the combat context because you're supposed to do this while raging. This was 2014 when rage wasn't an out-of-combat thing. Spitballing here for College of Whispers, but what if instead of 12 random tales, what about 6 combat tales and 6 out-of-combat tales? And you roll on each of those tables depending on the situation you're in. I think that would make it better. College of Spirits then tries to give you a non-gambling ability to counteract the gambling aspect, which is always a tell that the gambling aspect is not working. And it's a good ability until you realize it isn't. Spiritual Focus gives you a d6 to any damage or healing you do with a spell. Amazing, right?
Sick me now.
Well, I'm not done. It's adding a d6 to healing or damage to any spell that you cast with a spellcasting focus. Reminder, because I'm sure that so many people, even like people that really know D&D, might not have this like off the top of their head. You use your spellcasting focus to replace material components only. So only spells that have a material component that is not priced, not like 100 gold pieces worth of a diamond, just random flavor material stuff, that's when you use a spellcasting focus to replace those materials. No, I have said this before, but the bard gets a very limited spell list. This ends up meaning that you get that d6 bonus on extremely rare spells. If you don't build around this, you're not seeing this ability. It will just not come up. Like, it's not gonna come up in Cure Wounds, it's not gonna come up in Healing Word, it's not gonna come up in like most of the healing ones. Now, the thing about this is that I really cannot tell if this is intentional. Like, did they plan to do this? Like, on the one hand, a 1d6 on every cast of Cure Wounds and Healing Word is a lot. Like, that is a massively good ability. That kind of sounds like too good. So maybe it is on purpose. But on the other hand, boy, does it feel like they just wanted you to cast with a crystal ball in hand. Like, they literally say that in that ability. They say like, your spellcasting focus could be a crystal ball. Wouldn't that be cool? Don't you want to do it? Isn't it cool to play a medium? I agree, it would be really cool. And part of me wonders if they realized that like, this meant that very few spells would ever get this bonus. Who knows? It will remain a mystery forevermore. Or until they do College of Spirits in 2024. So the College of Spirits has really needed flavor for the class. We love a spooky one, especially with the Bard and its class cloud problem, but it's not perfectly executed. Once again, there's no clear performance here. Maybe they should have gone for showmanship. Like, a medium is kind of a showman, but its biggest crime is mechanically it feels confused and like half-baked a little bit. I hate to say this, but I'm feeling like this Hex Maniac is a goof. I'm really running out of notes now. Number Doe. Again, you know it goes back, right? It starts with Doe again. College of Swords. This was a weirdly formative subclass for me. Like, I remember reading it and it imprinting into my brain forever. I have DM'd a Swords Bard for like a really long time. And looking at it now, like, it does so many things that I do in my own subclasses. I can really tell that this was a weirdly formative one for me. Swords Bards get a cool name just to themselves, to define themselves. See, I do that all the time in my subclasses. That's one of my favorite things to do. They're called Blades. Sick, unironically. I'm 11, and their performance is like swordplay. I think it's sick. It's like throwing knives, juggling, sword swallowing. They are also said that they lead double lives. Like during the day, they are a circus performance. Wow, shocking that I like this one, huh? But at night, they are an assassin for hire or a vigilante hero. It's so sick. It's so cool. Anime subclasses are always the best in Flavor, and I'm tired of pretending they're not. So Flavor is amazing, a type of performance that makes sense for the bard and at the same time feels super novel. What about mechanics though? Remember when I said that the dancer bard eats through their inspo? This is the CEO of eating through your inspo. This is a gish. I keep saying that in videos and people comment like, what is a quiche? So let's define the 77th game design term this week. Simply put, a gish is a spellcaster that is also meant to be a martial combatant. It's supposed to be a character that is both at the same time. It's old D&Ds, funnily enough, it's the name of a character. Old heads still use Gish, new chickens use Spellblade, weeps use Red Mage. Pick your poison. The thing about Gish subclasses is that they all end up being a little bit mad, multiple ability dependent. It means that in order to do a good job at what you're trying to do, you need 3 high ability scores, which are not given. Like, that's not easy to get. For this guy, you need Constitution, Charisma, and Dexterity. Paladins are kind of like the poster boys of a class that is pretty mad in and of itself. You need high Charisma, Constitution, and Strength for them. But also, you never want to neglect your dex, because dex saves are the most common saves, so you end up with like 4 abilities that need to be high, or just resign yourself to fail every dex saving throw, which is gonna be rough. Bards get 2 Gish options, and I like Swords better, but not because it's better than the other one. Swords Bards get 3 Flourishes, and you spend a Bardic Inspo to do any of them. Depending on the flourish you use with your sword, you get extra AC, you get extra damage, and like a needlessly complicated push option. Why did you write it like that? All 3 of these are good, but not amazing, and they will tear through your inspiration. This is not the subclass to play if your party hates nap time. If this is a campaign where short rests are hard to come by, do not play this. You will not see your subclass, or rather you will see them once a day, and then you will be out of a subclass. Its biggest sin, however, is how little survivability this gives you in spite of being a Gish. Like, it wants you to be at melee range with your little sword, and it also is awful. It gives you nothing. You're not protected unless you spend every use of Bardic Inspo to put that AC up. Now, I want to make this clear. That was the analysis part, like the on paper part. The actual experiences I've had at the table DMing this subclass have been very different. I've DM'd both a Swords Bard and the other Gish Bard subclass, and the Swords Bard had a blast. And I've DM'd several at this point. It's a popular subclass, at least in my experience. Are the inspiration uses slightly below average if you run the calcs? Yes. Do you tear through your inspo? Yes. Is it mad? Yes. Does it have little to no survivability? Yes. Is it extremely fun and very flavorful to play? Yes. So, based on the actual experience at the table, and based on the extremely flavorful flavor, I simply cannot rank this blade as a goof. It is good, but it's a soft good. It's on thin ice. So I've been talking a lot about the other Gish, and apparently it's better than this, so let's take a look. Number, fancy little curly Q music thingy. College of Valor. The second Gish subclass for the Bard, and the only one that gets to hang out in the 2024 A-Team. Valor was in both 2024's and 2014's PHP. Flavor-wise, I am whelmed. Extremely whelmed, especially right after Swords. Alphabetical order was not kind to this one. This guy's performance is singing, florals in spring.
Groundbreaking.
Except your songs are like recaps of Dragon Ball Z fights, tell stories of great fighters of the past. It's very Orders Niganad. Niganad? If you know, you know. I love making references that 3 people understand. Y'all don't even know how relevant this will be come September. Anyway, flavor is mid. What about mechanics? Now, I hate to say it because the flavor is so bland, but mechanics-wise, this is Sword Bard, but better. But like in a boring way. Whereas Sword Bard increases your AC by like doing a defensive flourish, Valor Bard just gives you AC with armor. That means you don't tear through your inspiration to get your AC up, so it's pretty good. And you get a defensive version of the Eloquence Bard's inspo to increase your survivability even more. It's just better. It also gives you access to all martial weapons, pick rapier, and it lets you weave in an attack and a cantrip, which is really good and feels super gishy. It then makes this even better by allowing you to make an attack with your sword, rapier, and cast a spell, like a leveled spell. There is not a nice way to say this, so this is just a much better version of the Sword Bard and feels way more spellbladey without expecting you to Augustus Gloop every use of inspiration in like 3 turns of combat. It's plainly better, even if none of these options are like nearly as inspiring as the Sword Bard. Inspiring. Unintentional pun. This is your boring cousin that has their together. If you love the idea of a spellblade, if that's why you pick one of these 2 subclasses, Valor definitely feels feels way more that. Pick Valor. Not the strongest bard, not the strongest Gish, but definitely the strongest Gish bard. It gets a rating of good. And finally, for the end, let's beat a dead horse some more. Number 2 and a lower octave now. College of Whispers. For those new to the channel, this subclass annoyed me enough to make a whole video about it, and I don't do videos on subclasses. The College of Whispers is a spy. They pretend that they're being the class clown in order to get close enough to kill you or learn all your secrets. It's, to me, one of the coolest flavors of the bard by a mile, and it's also, to me, the worst bard subclass. To me, but online people also hate this one, so there might be something there. Like I said, I've already gone into excruciating detail as to how frustrating I find this subclass. It feels like tailor-made to leave your friends behind, like leave the rest of the party behind and go on solo adventures, you know? The antithesis of D&D, so much of its kit is out of combat and or situational and or extremely complicated to use. And the excuse that everyone has is like, oh, this should be played in a political intrigue campaign. And I despise that, because I run those all the time. And guess what players never do in those? Kill whoever is the important NPC. That happens like once per campaign. And this whole subclass wants you to do that all the time. Political intrigue campaigns don't include a lot of killing important NPCs. That's why they're called political intrigue. The killing of an important NPC is like the initial incident of like a whole campaign, not like a Tuesday. Whispers feels like such a sibling to the Inquisitive and the Mastermind Rogue that it's a wonder they didn't come from the same book. If I could pick any bard subclass to get a 2024 revision, it would be Whispers Blind. It would be first choice, also only choice. The combo of having the best flavor and the worst execution of that flavor is maddening. They have just been doing such a good job on retakes on old subclasses, and I really want this one to get its like due shine. I was so upset at this one that in that video about this specific subclass, I made another college, the College of Lies, that kind of like addresses the problems I have with this subclass. That's how mad I got. As it stands, not much of a surprise. This is the goofiest one out of all the goofs. Okay, let's recap. These are the goods, these are the goofs. That's it. So weirdly enough, this feels like it happens every video, but despite ending on a low note, really good turnout. And that's all bard subclasses. Covering popular classes is exhausting. What do you mean there are 10 bards? And guess what? It's about to get an 11th. That's right. You thought that this video would end at a needlessly overly long analysis? You don't know this channel at all. What if we made a brand new bard subclass as a conclusion based on what we've learned through this analysis? Let's do that. But I'm somehow not done with Whispers. I like subterfuge and secrets, and this whole spy thing has gotten me thinking, it's time. For the entirety of last year, I've been dropping hints as to something. And last December, I started to point towards those hints. We've had puzzles, we've had anagrams, and we've had coded messages. And some of you have taken notice. And it's time to start revealing that process. So, without further ado, the thing I've been working on for damn near 5 years. More to come soon. Very soon. Next month soon. But if you've gone through all the puzzles and the hints, you might already have an idea of what I've been cooking. I can tell you right now, it's the biggest thing I've done for this channel. Or in my life. But now, Bard subclass. Part 4. A new bard. So there are two wolves inside of me. One wants to make a bard that fights against the stereotypes and misconceptions that plague the bard class, but the other wolf is flabbergasted with how much of the core flavor of the bard has just been ignored in 2024 and frankly in 2014. Isn't it insane that we just don't have a purely musical bard? Most bards have music as like an afterthought, like they play music to recap anime fights, or they play music to channel the power of Tinkerbell, or they play music to teleport behind you, nothing personnel, I guess, in the case of Whispers. But what about a bard that focuses on the craft of music itself? Not one of them does that. Not one of them is dedicated to what makes a bard a bard. I feel like both the non-traditional anti-stereotype option and the music-centric reject modernity, embrace tradition roads are important. So how do we choose? Well, we don't have to. As I said, I already made a subterfuge bad boy scary bard subclass as an answer to the whisper bard, so let's follow the musical thread now. So about that, there's nothing less exciting than what if we make a boilerplate version of a thing? So how can we make musical bard exciting? Well, let's take some inspiration from an already existing bard subclass. What if we took the super flavorful flourishes of the sword bard, but found a way to give them a musical flair instead. Not with a gish, but with a bard's bard. Maybe a battler and a battlefield controller that plays songs during combat, with each musical piece having wildly different effects. Imagine a sort of paladin bard, not with melee combat, but rather with auras. A bard that changes the battlefield with their music, both offensively, like songs that go against their enemies, and support-wise, songs that enhance their friends and the bard themselves. It sounds like a good time. It sounds like a perfect match for the soul of the bard, the essence of the class. And more importantly, it gives you an option if what you like about the bard is the core of its flavor, the musician, the performer. Well, that's what I did. The College of Virtuosity is up for grabs for you in the description of this very video for what? Exactly. The low price of 100% certified pointy hat free. If this bard is not for you, first of all, why are you so mean to me? But it's okay. Go check out my College of Lies instead and watch me whinge about the Whisper Bard even more. I cannot wait to tell you more about what Wild Hearth is all about. Mwah.